A Bradenton mother and her infant son were found dead in a house fire, but according to investigators, the two did not die in that fire.
Like, everything about her was so good, like, I don't understand. Like, I don't see how God could let something like this happen to her. And I really just hope that she did not suffer. Like, I hope she didn't suffer at all.
Ambulance duty crew respond for an adult female fallen, unable to ambulate. The Robbins residence, 11 Chester's Place. Repeating to Woodstock Ambulance duty crew.
Today, travel with me to Bradenton, Florida, the friendly city according to their motto. Bradenton is located along Florida's Gulf Coast, south of the greater Tampa Bay area and north of Sarasota. Bradenton is a wonderful place to raise a family, to work, and to play. It is nestled on the beautiful Manatee River, and the river walk allows many ways to enjoy the view. Also, just minutes away from beautiful Anne Marie Island, where the beauty of Florida's beaches is always on display. Bradenton also boasts the Bradenton Blues Festival, which is rapidly ascending to becoming one of the best blues festivals in the country. Bradenton has a typical Central Florida humid, subtropical climate characterized by hot, humid summers and warm winters. In today's story, we'll be going over the crazy circumstances that ended up leaving a young teen and her 8-month-old child unalived. Diamond Shellman was a mother first, but was said to be one of the sweetest, kindest people. She loved to sing and had a beautiful voice, and most of all, she loved the Lord. Her family would say that everything about her was so good. There was not a bad bone in her body. However, to understand the whole story, we have to go back to 2015, when a then 16-year-old Diamond would be uprooted from her mother's home along with her other siblings. According to Diamond's mother, Nakaya, in December 2015, CPS would illegally take her children from her home and place them in a deplorable situation. Nakaya was deeply desperate to get her children back and did everything in her power to make it happen. She would reach out to the news to get her story heard, and she would say that the whole petition to have her children taken away was a lie and that she had all the proper documents and evidence to prove it. She would go on to state that CPS workers came to her home, drug tested her, which all came back negative for all substances, and they told her that her home was in good condition and it was not considered deplorable or hazardous to the children. CPS did not take her kids from her home, but when her kids went to school, they took her children. After her children were taken, her 7-year-old son's collarbone was broken the first night away from home, and the lady's house that CPS sent the kids to let him lay there on a filthy couch in pain for a couple of days. She believed the child was faking it, and when Nakaya found out, she insisted that she take her child to the hospital. It did turn out that the child's collarbone was broken. The home the children were placed in was deplorable, and she was able to obtain pictures of the home because her mother went by there to visit her grandchildren. Nakaya was trying to get her kids in the custody of her mother if she could not have them. Nakaya's mother would take pictures while she was there of the conditions of the home. According to Nakaya, there was so much more to tell the news, and she wanted them to call her. She was scared that she was going to have to bury one of her kids if she didn't get them back, as she expressed these concerns in emails sent to the news. She was able to pick her kids up 3 times a week with her mother, and she would find abrasions, blisters, and marks. To make matters worse, the lady's 20-year-old son was in the home and was a pedo and allegedly R-worded his own cousin. By February 2016, her 16-year-old daughter would become pregnant by that 20-year-old and was only in that CPS-approved home for less than 2 months. During the time of her daughter's pregnancy, she did report what had happened to her minor child by someone in a home that CPS placed. Her daughter would go on to have the baby and get her own place. At the time of Diamond's pregnancy, The 20-year-old suspect, Larry Bernard Williams, was in a relationship with another woman that he already had a very young child with. So it caused issues because obviously he was cheating if he got another girl pregnant. The animosity between Larry and Diamond continued to grow as Larry's relationship with his then girlfriend was deteriorating. 5 days before the unaliving of Diamond and her son Jeremiah, Larry texted his girlfriend that she had better make sure her taser was charged real good. When the woman responded that she was confused by the message, Larry wrote back that he was sick of a B word trying him. Now it's on, according to official reports. He also messaged his girlfriend to look for the gas can. The woman had no reason to believe that Larry's messages were anything other than a rant and could not have foreseen what happened less than a week later, prosecutors said. Authorities said that Larry and his girlfriend were in the process of breaking up, at least partially due to Larry's relationship with Diamond and the fact that he and Diamond shared a child. The messages showed that Larry promised his then girlfriend that she would never have to hear about Diamond and the child he shared with her. 5 days later, in the early morning hours of August 27, 2017, Larry went to Diamond Avalon Square Apartments armed with a gas can and tragically stabbed her, sprayed gasoline throughout the apartment and on her, and lit it on fire. Larry tried to destroy the evidence, and he left his 8-month-old son, Jeremiah, to pass away in the fire of smoke inhalation. On that morning, an off-duty firefighter who was passing by the apartment and saw the fire went into the apartment and found Diamond, who was 18, and her son Jeremiah unalived inside the unit 119. The firefighter saw a Chrysler 300 later identified as belonging to Larry leaving the complex.
A Bradenton mother and her infant son were found dead in a house fire, but according to investigators, the two did not die in that fire. They were killed. News Channel 8's Chip Wasowski joining us now live from that area with details on this story. Chip.
Rod, a firefighter on his way to work this morning around 7 o'clock spotted smoke and flames coming from this apartment building. He called for help. When authorities arrived, they found that mother and her infant son dead in one of these apartments, and it was no accident. Deputies made an arrest just a short time ago.
No way, God. It cannot be.
It's hard to imagine the pain family members of 18-year-old Diamond Shellman and her 8-month-old son Jeremiah are experiencing. Both were found dead in this apartment complex early Saturday morning, and authorities are telling us Diamond did not die as a result of the fire.
The 18-year-old victim, we found injuries that were not consistent with a fire. So that clued us in that, okay, we got something else going on here.
Detectives spent hours at the scene investigating and eventually arrested 20-year-old Larry Bernard Williams. He was Diamond Shellman's boyfriend and the infant's father.
Court documents stated that Diamond was found face down on the floor of her bedroom. She had sustained multiple stab wounds to her torso and her throat had been cut open. Their son was also located inside the bedroom. After initially denying having anything to do with the unaliving, court documents state that Larry admitted to unaliving Diamond with a knife and provided details about the crime that had not been released to the public, including where to find the weapon. When asked for clarification into these admissions, Larry stated he had been present when the demons which took over him stabbed Diamond and burnt the apartment. Police wrote it in a probable cause affidavit. However, a man housed with Larry in jail testified at trial that Larry confessed that he committed the crime and told investigators it was a demon. The other inmate further testified that Larry then asked him if he thought they would buy the excuse and if it would work. In 2019, Larry's defense attorney, Christopher Bolt, filed an intent to rely on an insanity defense as Larry suffered from schizophrenia, a major depressive disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder, according to court records. During the trial that started in April 2023, a crime scene technician that investigated the apartment testified they found blood splattered on a plastic shower curtain and clothes in the unit at Royal Palm Terrace apartment in Bradenton that Larry allegedly returned to after the crime, as well as in his car, news reported. An arson dog alerted a fire investigator to fire accelerants inside the apartment on Diamond's body and later alerted investigators to accelerants on the clothes and shoes found inside Larry's apartment as well as in his Chrysler vehicle, according to testimony given at the trial. The dog also indicated accelerants located on Larry's lower body when he was taken to the sheriff's office where he was held in 2017. Larry, who was 20 at the time, was living at Royal Palm Terrace Apartments with Tidaria Mendez, who had a 1-year-old daughter with him at the time. She testified that Larry left their apartment around 3 a.m. the morning of the fire, and she woke up in the morning to find Larry walking back and forth inside the apartment. Tidaria said she went back to sleep and later woke up from a call from Larry telling her to go check on his car, with Larry telling her he was helping a friend move. According to news reports, Larry was found guilty of first-degree unaliving on Thursday, court records show. Larry Bernard Williams, 25, was charged with taking the life of his ex-girlfriend, setting her apartment on fire, and also unaliving their 8-month-old son, Jeremiah. The murder conviction means mandatory consecutive life sentences in the state prison for Larry, according to court documents. Larry was also found guilty of arson. That conviction sentencing is deferred, according to court records. It took almost 6 years before his trial, but I'm sure the family is finally glad to close the chapter, knowing that Larry will be behind bars the rest of his life. Still, I can't help but to think, why did the system fail the kids and allow them in a home that was nasty, and also there was a PETA in the home? How did CPS determine that was better? Their decision caused a young girl's innocence to be taken, become pregnant, and then have to lose her and her baby's life to the predator, all because they took her away from her mother and did not care who she was sent to. That part really bothers me. You take kids and make their life worse than it was. I hope that the mother filed a lawsuit against the state for wrongful death, because CPS definitely was a part of the blame. I pray that the family and friends can now try to move forward in their lives, and I hope that this situation will not happen to another young child in the system. So please comment your thoughts and prayers for this family in their difficult time, and hit that like button to share to make your people aware. And as always, remember, stay woke. Things change quickly.